What's up everyone, welcome. I am Maz and I hope you're having a splendid day. Today we will be doing an unboxing of whatever that is. Oh, I know what that is. Oh, and you know as well, reading from the title. So we will be doing an unboxing and an install of the Blackvue DR900S-2 channel, meaning we will have a front facing camera and a rear facing camera. A separate video will be posted with a review of the front facing camera and the rear facing camera and how they perform. But let's go ahead with the install. So let's see what we got. The Blackvue Power Magic Pro. This is then to tap into the fuse box, and it will supply power to the to both cameras while in parking and also during driving. Then we have the actual camera box. So it's the Blackvue DR900S-2 channel, and it's a 4K, totally overkill most likely, dashcam.
Achtung, wichtiger, this is sehr wichtiger in dem Alle.
So this is the actual camera. It's quite big actually. This is my Samsung Galaxy Note 9. I don't know if it gives you some perspective, but it's rather large. The rear facing camera, which is much smaller, as you can see. I would assume the cables etc. are in here. So one cable here, we have the actual power cord which goes into this, and this part will then go into the Blackue Power Magic Pro, and this cable is for the rear facing camera that will plug into here, I would assume. Let's also open up what we got included in the Power Magic Pro. We have the actual Power Magic Pro, and also then the power connector where this cigarette lighter connector will plug into as such. And this will then plug into the fuse box. We have to remove this panel. We then have to remove this panel. We most likely have to remove this panel. Alright, so we want to start off with removing this panel. Grab it from the below here and try to lift it up a bit, and then all of it should come loose by working your way backwards. It was just that easy. Let's put this aside. The next step is to remove the cover for the fuse box. It could appear to be one single piece, all of this, but it's actually not. The fuse box cover, there's a line here, and there's a sort of a handle on the back side which you should pull out. So to release that clip, there's a clip here somewhere, and then try to pull upwards to release the panel from this part. So let's try that. Or actually, maybe we can remove the whole piece in one go, as such. This is what I was talking about. As you can see, this part here, actually these are two different parts, but for me this was fitting very well, so actually everything came out in one piece. The last panel to be removed is this one now, in order for us to pull the cable up here into the A-pillar. So let's see if we can get a grip somewhere around here to pull this thing out. Okay, there we go. Some sound deadening as well. and we have one clip stuck here. Let's pull that out and put it in here. So now we have everything exposed, as you can see, or most of it. And there is the bolt we will use for mounting the ground cable to from the Power Magic Pro. We will run the cables from down there, going up somewhere here, and then up into the A-pillar somewhere. And also, I'm a bit cautious when it comes to running it in the A-pillar because we have air curtains or airbags running there, so we don't want the cable running in front of the actual air. Now we have the fuse box exposed, so we will figure out which of the fuses we need to use for the power, and also to power the Power Magic Pro when we are in parking mode. I have seen some folks doing the wiring first and then installing the camera, but I'm not like everyone else. I will actually install the camera first, and then I will know how much slack I will need to have on the actual cord. Before we do that, we want to wipe down the inside of the windscreen properly with windscreen cleaner and some IPA, and then we will actually remove the plastic for the adhesive, and we will apply the camera to the windshield. I've set up a piece of tape for guidance. Next step is then to remove this double-sided tape or the protection for it, and then try to align the camera best as we can, and then actually hooking it up to the windscreen. Maybe tilting a little bit, but I mean, that's okay. So now let's get on with the actual install of the cables, etc. Next is try to take some of these clips off from the A-pillar panel, and to see if we can somehow run the cable through here, or at least come from this side and go over here to the camera itself. However, I don't want to cross the airbag here, so let's see how that looks when we snap off the panel from the chassis, and then we will have a look. So the airbag is running the whole way here. I will see if I can find a solution to potentially remove this whole piece here and then run the cable how should I say, behind the airbag itself. I don't know if you can see it, but inside there this needs to be hooked off, and also we need to be careful. There is a connector here for the tweeter somewhere in here. So we need to disconnect before we remove this panel. The airbag is running the whole way, and if we cross the cable over it, it will actually hinder the operation of the airbag if it, God forbid, should deploy anytime. So we will try to remove this whole piece here and see if we can run the cable on this side, so to speak. Next is then to tuck in the cable behind this black trim here and beneath the headliner to here. I'm not sure if you can see this. I'm running the cable on the same side which Ford themselves have run the cable coming to the interior lighting, etc. So I'm keeping it on that same side, and it goes, I don't know if you can see it. There comes the cable, and it goes on the other side of the airbag on up to here. I took the opportunity to run the cable for the rear camera on the right side of the car as well. I have ran it the same way as for the front facing camera. However, for the rear I will run it down on this side, behind the airbag, and back on this side all the way to the rear camera. What I did was to actually remove this whole piece a bit. So there are clips here and here and on the other side. So I actually removed this whole piece so I could access to run the wires and actually pull it through here, and this is where the OEM cable is going to the radar, etc. Now we will pull it, or put the cable beneath the headliner, and then we can finish off this part. So you can see some of the cable here. It was a really tight fit here. I can't press it in any further, but I'll try to do my best there. However, it's running now under the headliner. It's going down through the A-pillar, and the front facing camera is continuing down. The rear view facing camera is going around here somewhere, and I have ran it through the headliner, and here you can see how it looks. And I will run it all the way to the back then. Before we continue with the rear facing camera, I want to mention I have tint on my rear view window, and I'm afraid putting this rather strong 3M adhesive that comes with the camera, and when the day comes and I want to take this off, I will actually rip off the tint as well. So what I thought I'll be using is something in between this area and the tint itself, which is actually a bit more easy to remove, and that is these type of self-adhesive strips. So how they work is, maybe you have seen this, you can instead of putting up a hook or anything in your bathroom, etc., for towels or whatnot, so this portion, or the back side of it, or the rough side of it, will actually be then facing the window, and the camera will be mounted, so there is actually adhesive on both sides. Then this would then go here, and what's clever with these are there's a tab sticking out. When the day comes and you want to remove it, you just pull the tab and it should release from the tint as well without damaging the tint. So that is the idea with this. Next I will clean the rear view window. I won't film that because you know how to do that. And the next is then to align this, and then apply the strip, and then we're finished with the camera installs at least. This is the end result. Not the cleanest install. I can do something about this, maybe put some black tape over it so it's not that obvious. So when the day comes I want to remove this, I actually pull this tab and take everything off. I went a bit anal and wanted to find the middle, so I have actually used my laser and measured from side to side here to get exactly the middle, where the middle is, where the lens is going. And it was a bit of work to actually get it tilted correctly, but now I think I have a really good alignment. One other thing you might want to consider, you see where the threads go for the heating, there are two a bit more thicker, and then they become a bit thinner. I actually put it as far as I could to the second one, so none of these are now visible. I can see this one a bit, but it's not intrusive as this line would be in the picture. With that said, then the camera is then a bit further down on the window itself. I could have tucked it up here, but then I would have had this line right in the middle of the picture. The excess cable for the rear facing camera have been tucked in beneath the roof liner there. There is plenty of room to actually do that.
One eternity later.
So I thought I had the goddamn right fuse tabs to tap into the fuse box. As you can see, I have 3 different variants. I ordered something called Micro 2, and apparently, it's quite obvious that this would not fit. I ordered these over the internet from Amazon or eBay, I can't even remember what it was. Then I was looking into a local shop, hardware, or yeah, a local shop, and then they had these, and I thought, yeah, but maybe at least this one would fit. It seems to be the right one. No, it did not. And obviously then this big one will not fit either. So then I was like, what the hell? So the fuses that are installed in the car look like this. And as you can see, I don't know if we can get focus here, but here you can see this, the gap here is too big. So this doesn't fit. And this gap is even bigger. So this won't fit either. And on this one, this portion here will not fit into the fuse box itself. So I had to order new stuff that came from Amazon today from US, and it cost me $37 US to get these, and I really hope now that they will fit. Otherwise I'm just gonna sell the bloody camera because I can't cope with it anymore. So let's see if these fit. So now, as you can see, this is a different version, and hopefully this seems to be correct. Yes. Victory at last. So let's get them open and see if they will fit. Sorry for that. Yes, this seems to be the right one, but I don't know why I can't get them in all the way, but let's try that later. So the idea is then these lower ports, or whatever we want to call it, we want to use the OEM fuse in there, and then you plug this part into your fuse box then, and then this part will then go to your accessory or constant power. And then you obviously need to have two then, depending on if it's for the constant power or the accessory power. So let's get that installed. Next is then to connect the ground cable for the Power Magic Pro, and we will slightly loosen this bolt and put this cable beneath that and retighten that bolt. Next is then to finalize the wiring into the actual fuse box. So we have two cables left. Our ground we have already connected to the chassis. We have one cable which says DC, so that's our accessory cable. And then we have the yellow cable which is saying BATT, which is our constant power. The next step is then to crimp the cables to the actual taps, and then connect the tap into the fuse box. So let's do that. So that's it. Next is then to tap this into the fuse box and see if we have any juice. I have pulled out the manual to identify which fuses we can use for constant power, meaning which fuse we can tap into to get power even if the car is locked, and then also which fuse we can tap into for the ACC power, which means full accessory or when the engine is on. For the constant power, I believe at least on the EU Mustang or in Sweden for the 2018, we can use fuse number 2, which is for the memory seats and so on. However, I don't think we have any memory seats on the European, because I haven't seen any option for that, but I think we can use that for that purpose. And fuse number 23 Alright, I didn't get to work with fuse number 23, so I did try fuse number 36. It just says extra body module. I have no idea what that is, but 36 is up there, as you can see, and then here we have fuse number 2, which we used for the constant power, and 36 we used for the accessory power. As you can see, we have a light now. And also on the Power Magic Pro you have dip switches. You can see from the diagram here, depending on how you set the dip switches, you either get it to automatically shut off at if the voltage of the battery drops below 12 volts, 12.5, 22.8 or 23.2, depending on then how you set the dip switches. The setting I have right now, so we have number 1 at the top, meaning blue, and the second one at red or pink. The battery or the camera will shut off automatically at 12 volts. If you have both 1 and 2 downwards, at the top, then it's at 12.5 volts, and so on. And also you have the recording time. Even though the voltage doesn't drop below, let's say, 12 volts, you can set it to record for 12 hours, 24 hours, 72 hours, or to infinity. And that will be dip switch number 3, 4, and 5. Now we are finished with all the wiring to the actual cameras through the A-pillars, etc. The last step is then to find a neat way for cable management of the excess cable, and also how we're going to mount the Power Magic Pro and where we're going to put the cigarette lighter socket, etc. What I will start doing is to actually wrap this part with some felt tape, just in order to minimize the risk of having any rattle, etc. So I'll go ahead and do that. So the excess power cable, etc. have been positioned in this spot. What we have is just enough, or maybe a bit too much, but enough just to get the Power Magic Pro on this side of the fuse box cover, so we can switch on and off or change the settings whenever we want to, so we don't have to take anything off if we want to do that. The last step is then to reinstall the trim pieces, and we will see where we will actually position the Power Magic Pro. We will be using some Velcro or similar to attach this. I won't be drilling to get this attached then. I have now put this trim piece in, but I have not clicked it into place, because as you can see we still have this trim piece to install over here. However, if we install this first, as you can see, it goes something like this. Something like this. And it will make installing this piece very difficult, because as you can see, this will tuck in under this trim piece. So we will just put this in place now. We will put this trim piece on and click it into place, and then we will click this trim piece into place, and then we will continue with the rest of it, and also then the fuse box cover. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are now finished installing the trim pieces, and I will go over it again what I did. I first just aligned this trim piece because it gets tucked in under this trim piece. Then I went ahead and clicked this into place, then I clicked this into place, and then I clicked this trim piece into place. Also, with regards to this trim piece, there is a alignment pin down here somewhere, which you need to align before you click it into place. And also remember to realign your seals. With regards to the Power Magic Pro, this is how I installed it. So I used Velcro with double-sided tape, and I can remove this quite easily and put it back into place without having to screw anything, etc. And also I can reach the settings for the Power Magic Pro quite easily, and also then to turn the unit on or off. Alright guys, that was all for today's video. I hope it gave you some insight and also some understanding of what needs to be done to install a similar type of camera. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Blackvue or something else from a peripheral point of view, radar detector, etc. I would assume you can reuse the same way of doing it. You just need to be careful when removing your panels and be prepared with the fuses and so on, and you'll be back on the road in no time. Give me 2 thumbs up, and like other YouTubers say, smash that subscribe button, lick it, or make sensitive, caressing love to it. Until the next time. That was so creepy. Sorry for that. Really creepy. Bye bye.